places who don't really know the history and the lore. So it's a combination of factors and influences is how this developed. Mainly, like I said, Chicago, the stockyards, a beef-eating town. And so what was created was an all-beef hot dog, which most places are usually pork and veal, some beef. Chicago, it's strictly an all-beef Frank. And the real important thing with the Frank is the natural casing, which is, in this case, a lamb casing that's used. It's all beef meat, but beef casings are too big for most hot dogs, so they do use lamb casing. And it gives what we in Chicago call the snap. And to me, not only does it affect the texture of the hot dog, but the flavor as well. There's a difference in biting into a natural casing hot dog as opposed to one that's not cased. What I found in going to a lot of hot dog stands is they were using uncased Franks. They're cheaper, they're more uniform, they cook more evenly, but they don't taste as good. And so when I decided to do this, this was what we're going to use. I use a Vienna beef hot dog one. Their factory's right by the restaurant. I like, using local businesses, especially independent local businesses. And at the end of the day, they make the best hot dog. I still think their flavor, the quality is still great. The other traditional, what it's served on traditionally, is a poppy seed bun. Why the poppy seeds? I genuinely don't know. I think it's just more, a lot of it and a lot of things I've come to discover, some of it's just visually. It just looks more intriguing than one without the poppy seeds. So it should be steamed. Let's pretend these are steamed. And split, and there's a couple local companies that make them. Specifically, it's now Alpha Baking, but it's Marianne is the name of the company, the traditional hot dog. So I'll use tongs today. And not that we don't in the restaurant. So you have the hot dog. Cooking method, if you ask, and I get asked a lot at the restaurant, well, what's traditional? And the smart ass answer is overpriced and mediocre. But we don't, but for the cooking method, so I offer, would you like it steamed or grilled? And what's traditional, that's opening up an argument in Chicago, because steamed predates it, but grilled is also a classic Chicago style, a Chicago way to serve the hot dog. I tend to like the grilled a little bit more. I just think the char flavor adds a little extra element to the whole composition. Having said that, I'm extremely happy with a steamed hot dog and eat those as well. So cooked, the steaming also gives it a little bit more, the skin gets a little more snappier, to use the parlance. Traditionally then, yellow mustard, bright yellow mustard. I think as much as I like brown, honey, Dijon mustard, I just think the acidity and the sharpness of the yellow mustard, especially with all the other ingredients, it just works better with a hot dog. I will address very quickly the no ketchup on a hot dog deal in Chicago. I understand that. You're not supposed to do this. I understand it's blasphemy when I say I don't really care. You like ketchup on a hot dog, you're buying a hot dog, whatever you want on it. I will not, unlike most places, I will not yell at you. I don't encourage it. If you ask for everything, you don't get ketchup. But I just don't think it tastes all that great. I'm not a huge ketchup fan to begin with, but I think especially with the hot dog. And I know that there is actually one person in this audience who will wholeheartedly disagree with me. Oh, there she is. We'll talk about that later. So it's yellow. I think yellow mustard is the key. Next ingredient, onions. We offer caramelized onions. That's my own personal, this is my take on it only because I like caramelized onions more than I like raw onions. But we offer both ways. It offers, the raw onions, you do get a textural, that little textural crunch to it, and a sharpness as well, and I understand that. The caramelized onions, I think, give it a little more sweetness, and since we caramelize them in butter, you also get butter. And that doesn't hurt anything. One of the lessons we learned in cooking school, salt, butter, and cream will make anything much better. So there's the onions. Next is the neon green sweet relish. And this is by law in Chicago. Apparently you have to serve the neon green relish. Purely a marketing feature. Neon green food dye, natural food dye is added to the relish. Again, to help sort of the look of it, to help stick out. And I think it was also, so the story goes, like, it has like a selling point, is like, it's neon green, buy my relish. But again, it's another sweet element, tangy element from the vinegar in the relish added to the hot dog. Tomatoes, I'm going to use my hands now. Sharp tomatoes we use Roma tomatoes. They just tend to be consistently better through the year. February, I admit it, the tomatoes not as great right now. Outstanding. Then we add a little bit dill pickle spear. Again, you're getting another layer of flavor, another component, the crunch from that, and that nice little acidity that you get from pickling. And then celery salt goes on top. And again, a lot of these things, as most great foods happen, someone needed to sell celery salt. Let's put it on the hot dog. And then the optional is sport peppers, which are little pickled spicy peppers. The urban legend is that, if I get this right, they come from Mexico. 90% of the crop of this particular pepper is sent to Chicago to be used in hot dog stands. I don't know if that's true, but it's a great story, so I'm going to stick with it. And there you go. And it's the Chicago hot dog. It's so you have all these ethnic influences. Chicago, one of the great, American cities, heavily influenced by, European mostly and Latin influences. So you have the Italian tomatoes. You have, the peppers coming more from Mexican immigrants. The other, flavors. It's a heavily Eastern European city, so that's where you get the beef to begin with. And so, and like I said, when done well, I think it looks great. If you can see that there, I don't know. And it tastes fabulous. And like I said, we've been, fortunately, we've been in business for, like I said, 12 and a half years. I got hoodwinked into writing a book. I didn't want to, but publisher Agate Publishing came to me and said, we think it's a great story, and as much as I tried to put it off, part of it was, I kind of want to get this written down on paper before I forget everything.